The Merry Pranksters, Chapter 10, Episode 2. I would take those golf clubs and beat the fuck out of both of you pussies. Armante isn't thinking about the ball, or the car, or the spinning rims. He isn't smiling either when he walks up to the steps and says, "Yo, Hank ain't here yet? I need to talk to that fool, on my mama." I offer them both a go with my 9-iron, but they wave me off for a seat on the Ohana wicker patio furniture up on the porch. Barnes tells me to take my shades off, and when I lean in to show them my scars, he says, "Oh, that ain't that bad," in a way that implies his are worse. He tells me, "You deserve to be a fucking cripple for letting my brother drive your motherfucking Cadillac." He calls me a dumbass and asks what I thought was going to happen, and I only then consider it for the first time. I know he wasn't expecting a real answer, but I stood there for a minute and thought to myself, what did happen? Something happened that night in the caddy that I don't know I'll ever fully understand. I sure as hell am not going to try to explain it to these dipshits, but I am curious what happened to Mort, so I asked them. Though they don't agree on the exact charges, they concur that he got picked up by St. Louis County and broke parole and is looking at 10 years upstate. Later, while Barnes rolls a blunt and scolds us for not having enough bitches around, the wind whistles a sad tune through the skeleton trees. Armante is keeping a keen eye out for Hank's truck to come pulling up while Dickie breaks the news to Barnes about doing our security for the gig. He could have said it more tactfully. He could have blamed Megs and said something about her insisting on a professional security detail. But he just told him, "Yo, Barney, you ain't doing the gig." After Barnes' initial overreaction, he looks at Tay and asks, "Hold up, what about this bitch?" And without tipping too much of our hand, Dickie and I subtly hint that Armante should keep his bass tuned up for the night of the Halloween Monster Mash. Barnes rolls his weary eyes and tells us, "Whatever, dorks. If you bitches blow up for real and end up on a world tour, I still want my half of the rent." 3 gray pigeons clumsily flew from the straw head of a damp scarecrow when Hank's truck came to a screeching halt halfway up the sidewalk. Slamming his car door shut, Hank stomped up the brick stairway to the porch, and when he reached the top, Tay stood up from his seat. The vein running serpentine along his temple pulsated as Hank recalled the vomit-green Mustang that tailed him for stretches upon stretches of highway. When a pause allowed, I started to boast that I was right about those shitty muscle cars following us around. Armante cut me off, however, and said, "Yo, man, no homo, but we need to talk inside." The mouth of the lion skin rug on the floor laid open slightly, like a mild warning to proceed with caution. The first thing Barnes did was to lean down close and stare into the eternal black eyes of the mighty beast. Offering it an approving nod, he touched the sharp fang with the tip of his finger, then sucked the drop of blood beating from his pierced fingertip. When he stood, I told him it was an albino lion from Timbavati, and he nodded and told me, "Bro, that is the gayest thing to come out of Africa since AIDS." And when Dickie offered Barnes and Armante a Tom Collins from the bar, they looked at him like a thief and cracked open 2 Budweisers from their 12-pack. Hank wasn't being sarcastic when he asked Armante if they should go in his room to talk business, but he just shrugged and said he might as well tell all 3 of us because this shit involves all you motherfuckers. Without being overly dramatic, Armante began by pulling a snow-white kilo of cocaine wrapped tightly in a clear plastic cellophane out of his pants. He tossed the package on the glass Noguchi coffee table and looked around to see he had the room's attention. He said bluntly, without apology, that he would not be saying any of this in front of Gonzo. Then, scanning the room again, as if to confirm Gonzo wasn't going to come stumbling out of the bathroom, he stated cautiously, "The cat that gave me this, right? He wanted me to give y'all a message." We all sat down around the leather sofas, and Armante cleared his throat. He told us that the Coke was a peace offering. Those are the words he used, from the infamous Irish mob boss. He waited for all of our eyes to stop rolling before he addressed our skepticism. I know what you motherfuckers is thinking. I thought that shit too, but this ain't no motherfucking Kaiser Soze situation here. That dude real as fuck. He wasted no time telling us that if we doubted him, hit a bump of that shit and tell me if you think I'm fucking around with you. He lit the blunt and hit it a couple of times before passing it. I know people be embellishing shit about that Irish cat, making him sound like some mythical conspiracy. I've heard all about that shit with the three-headed dog and all that, but on my mama, he do got a freaky-ass cottage out in the sticks full of samurai bodyguards and shit. How I know is because my brother used to fuck with them cats when they was locked up in Pacific. Armante continued hitting the blunt, confirming the rumor I started that the hot rod driving lackeys are straight up mercenaries, calling them dirty-ass ex-cops who slang dope for that Lucky Charms eating motherfucker. It was then that he leaned in low, with his eyebrows raised. He lowered his voice to say, "Here's the tricky part. Now, he didn't come right out and say this, but the word is, Gonzo owe them some money, too." Looking around cautiously, "Nah, that's where you bitches come in. That Irish cat say he just want to talk business and get down to the bottom of this. He want to keep it on the down low, though, so you can work this shit out without no interference. That's what the dude told me, on my mama." I suppose there could be a scenario where this is not an elaborate death trap. While Armante is answering some logistical questions from Hank, Dickie and I are wondering how much influence, if any, we have in all of this. Although the message Tay delivered from the Irishman is worded in harmlessly elusive mafia speak that promises the world, I'm trying to read between the lines. It's what he doesn't say that counts, and it seems the underlying threat of our eyelids being sliced open with a razor blade is not something that's completely off the table. I look up to find Hank shifting his eyes between Dickie and I with a look that could have only one meaning. He's convinced there is no reality where Gonzo's addiction is not behind all of this. At least I think that's what he wants us to think. If these painkillers hadn't rendered me so docile, I'd be able to look at all of this much more critically. I can only pray that Hank does not share the same desperate feeling of impotence as Dickie and me. Armante offers the blunt to Hank, and while he passes on the weed, he tells him to hand over the kilo. It's not like it'll be hard to get rid of. The whole damn city is gagging for coke right now. Armante and Barnes went on a beer run, but they did not come back alone. Led by their queen bee, a small sorority of thickens from my school filed in the house behind them. Dressed to kill, Demira had the body of a volleyball player with smooth caramel skin and an ass Barney would love to cut up lines on. To her right was a white chick Armante immediately fell in love with, and things kind of went downhill from there. After we shared a bottle of Carvassier and Hank started in with his usual misfits filibuster, it wasn't long before talk of rolling out the nitrous tank began. Over at the bar, Dickie mixes a pitcher of Singapore slings and he waves me over. He makes a toast to liberty, and then we toast to the cause, and when the rich drunk chick Tay brought over tells us she'll show us her tits if we play a song, we toast to that as well. We play Talk Dirty to Me, and Tatiana holds up her end of the deal, and even though no one will ever tell her this, we all wished she would have just kept her shirt on. By the way she's knocking back shots of Everclear with that "come on boys and hammer me" look, oh, sweet Tatiana knows it too. Barney tells us our Horace fan page gained over 1 million followers today, and I try to wrap my mind around that number by thinking about it in seconds. And when the mahogany grandfather clock strikes midnight, another mountain of cocaine is dumped on the Noguchi coffee table. While Tatiana is impatiently waiting for her turn with the straw, she drunkenly slurs, "You know what? I knew I recognized you guys. Hey, you're that band everyone's talking about. What's your name?" Her eyes gaze wistfully before she answers her own question. "Oh yeah, the Hollywood Buskers."